What do you think? Was it going to do it? Yeah. Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah. All right. So, and I just saw a comment pop up. Corey said, will this be alive on this Facebook group? So I'm going to hit reply.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
As we speak.
We're live now.
Reading your comment and replying to it out loud. Welcome to the party.
No time. It's yeah. Okay. All right. So let's see. Welcome everybody. It looks like we have a viewer. It is the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful time
immediately.
of the year.
You're gonna have to list some ruffles because if you're a Christmas person,
no, it's
for Halloween, right? Okay.
I'm not referring to Christmas. I'm in fact referring to Halloween.
Okay, good. Because we're gonna have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
About no Christmas music during our lives, and I'm not wearing jingle bells.
Okay, no, at least things need to wait until after Thanksgiving. But honestly, the way I work in my house is I've only started dragging out the Halloween decorations, and it's going to be a big pain in the ass to put everything up. So do I want to take it down right away? No, I do not. It will they'll probably be up until February.
Halloween into Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know. I did Christmas last year. Why not just make half the year Halloween? That's kind of what I'm
don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So, hello. Thank you very much for joining us and tuning in. I am Dr. Marci Koski, and I have with me the fantastic LeeAnna Buis. And we are with Feline Behavior Solutions. And today is a very special episode of our live chat.
A Hallmark version of Feline Behavior Solutions.
Oh my gosh. Like 75% of our business is working with people who have cats who are not getting along.
Yes.
And, in terms of the action happening in the Feline Behavior Solutions private Facebook group, most of that is cats not getting along. And this could easily be a week-long seminar. However, I'm not prepared to provide snacks or cocktails for everybody. And so we're going to try to stick to our typical 40-45 minutes. And yeah, LeeAnna already has her cocktail. Yeah. She's also had the day off, so she's very relaxed.
Yeah, this is my happy, calm face. How are you getting taller? I feel like you are growing by the second, and I'm getting shorter. And that does not help the situation.
I'll just slump.
I'll sit up really straight.
All right. So anyway, we lost viewers.
Uh-oh. I'm not surprised. This is not helpful.
Okay, so we do have some things we want to talk about. And one of the first things is, hey, when do we need to do an introduction? Obviously, if you're bringing a new cat into your home and you have an existing cat, the resident cat, it would be wise to do an introduction. So yes, that is typically the scenario when you're doing a cat-to-cat introduction. And you may also want to do a reintroduction if you have cats who are currently not getting along in your home.
I had 2 of those this week.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the measure I usually work on, in determining, hey, do I need to do a reintroduction or should we just work on things and make things better? If we have 2 cats that aren't really getting along in the house, my measure is typically, can these cats be in the same room at certain points without wilding out on each other? And if the answer is yes, then you don't necessarily need to do a reintroduction. And there are other things you can do to smooth over their relationship. You may need to, separate them at certain times or, keep an eye on them. But generally, you don't need to start at square one introduction.
Yeah.
So yeah, LeeAnna, what were the reintroduction situations you had this week?
They were actually both situations where the cats had lived together and been best friends for years, and then suddenly something happened. So one of them we suspect was a medical issue that led to a cranky cat, that led to a falling out that they just couldn't get over.
Yep.
And the other one, after doing some fact finding and some detective work, we think was probably a combination of a badly timed urinary tract infection with a badly timed cat outside who caused redirected freak out, and they haven't been getting along at all and have been separated for the better part of the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Trying to get them reintroduced again.
Yeah. So redirected aggression is one of those things that happens between cats. And that's a whole new topic.
I don't understand it. It's a weird thing. We're never going to get it. It's a cat thing.
Yeah. And so I think we should actually do one of these chats about redirected aggression. I think that would be very helpful for people.
Yeah.
So, so redirected aggression can cause cats to not get along, medical issues, different things. So today we're going to be talking about cats basically in a new cat scenario where we have a new cat and a resident cat. The reintroduction process, if you need to start at square one, is very similar to this process. So LeeAnna, prior to doing a regular introduction with a new cat and a resident cat, what do you need to do to start things off in the right direction? What do you need to have set up?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of prep. And we should say that what we're going to talk about is flexible. It does not work for every situation. Some reintroductions or introductions, we're going to do that all night now.
Yeah.
Some introductions go really quickly. Others take weeks, months. I'm working on one that's been more than a year. So, there are points in the process where if you're not making progress, it's good to bring someone like Marci or myself in to help. So if you're bringing a new cat into the house, the first thing you want to have set up is a safe space for that cat. And we've talked about that a little bit in a previous live, having a safe room with all their resources. And that's where they're going to kind of start their life, right? Mm-hmm. You are going to need some sort of a barrier to physically and visually separate your two cats. And we'll talk more about that, but it can be baby gates, 2 baby gates stacked on top of each other. If you've got the kind with the little door, it gives you an easy way to walk in and out. Some people, if they do regular reintroductions, or if it's going to be a long process, they'll install a screen door. You can use a blanket binder clipped on to the baby gates or something like that to block visual access. So you're just looking for a way that you can keep them apart, but that you can control if and when they're allowed to see each other. Yep. This can all be done in a kennel. It's not ideal. So I think we can maybe talk about that in another.
Yeah, that's kind of a special circumstance.
Yeah, it's not the best case, but if you've got to do it, you've got to do it. Yeah. You're going to need, and hang in there because this will make sense later, a couple of clean cotton socks or rags. No scented detergent, nice and clean. You can also use a soft bristle brush for what we're going to talk about. And probably the most important thing, assuming that you have food motivated cats, and here's hoping you do, is you need to find treats or food that these cats love. We want something that they go bananas for. We want this to be the best part of their day when they get these treats. If you don't have that option, think about other things your cat really loves: brushing, petting, play sessions. You're looking for some sort of positive feeling that you can give them as you're going through this process.
Yeah. And so, also those are all tools you're going to need for the introduction process.
And patience, lots and lots and lots and lots.
Patience and time. It does help if you have a partner that can help you with some of this stuff.
But if you're single, like some of us, that's okay. You can do it on your own too.
You absolutely can. And then, of course, in that safe room, also, you want everything that new cat is going to need.
Yeah.
Litter boxes, bedding, a hiding space, food, water, all that stuff, toys, good times for that kitty. Okay. So a lot of people are very familiar with the steps of the introduction process itself. It's not a big mystery. We don't have any magic solutions right off the bat.
Yes, we do. Come work with us. Yes, we do.
Every situation is different.
Yeah.
And yes, we have been able to come up with some creative problem-solving techniques that can work really well in certain circumstances. So if your circumstance doesn't fit the norm, that's when you come and talk to somebody like us.
And sometimes, let me say too really quickly that sometimes it just helps to have an outside perspective on it. I've had clients who have gone through all of the steps. Oh, Marci, you froze.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
I didn't hear what you said. So
sometimes it just helps to have an outside perspective on the situation. So I've had clients that have gone through all the steps really carefully, really thoughtfully, but looking at it from the outside and not being caught up in the intensity of it, I was able to identify little places where things might have gone awry that they just wouldn't have seen because of their perspective and their being in the middle of it. So, yeah.
Especially if you're doing kind of the same thing over and over and you're not seeing progress, what's going on? Like, it might help another person to kind of identify problems. So when we think about the introduction process, and we'll get into the steps in a moment, but it's basically you start with smell and then just a little bit of sight exposure, introducing each cat to the spaces, and then supervised visits. It's little tiny steps in a progression. And we are going to be doing two processes together in the introduction process. And I think it'll help if you understand what those processes are. So the first thing is systematic desensitization. And you can think of this as turning the volume knob up on the level of exposure. So with scent, for example, that's just a little bit of exposure to a new cat, right? So it's just like the volume level is at 1. It's just scent, right? So we turn that back down. That's fine. Now, if we were to take a new cat and put him in the same room with an existing cat and said, all right, you guys, be friends, that would be taking the volume knob and putting it all the way up to a 10. That's called flooding. And that doesn't work well.
No. Usually. Not good in your house, not good for your cats.
Yeah, not good. So we want to avoid that situation. The other process that we look at, so that's systematic desensitization. The other process that we look at is counter conditioning. And in the way that we're going to be using it, it is going to be pairing something that is scary or bad with something good so that the emotional response to that scary or bad thing changes from fear or dislike to, oh, this isn't so bad. So you're basically turning a bad thing more good by pairing something good with that bad thing. And we're going to do those things together. So we're going to pair good things with each and every level of exposure as we're turning up that volume knob. We're going to pair good things at every step along the way. So what we are doing is slowly building trust and letting cats get to know each other in a safe way and building positive associations. Again, what are you doing?
That was Oliver walking on things he shouldn't be walking on. I have a tenuous lighting situation happening here. So if you hear a crash, that would be Ollie plus lights equals falling down.
I love it. So anyway, the whole introduction process, it's basically an exposure gradient. We're increasing that level of exposure along the exposure gradient and pairing good things along the way. So let's start out with in the introduction process, let's talk about scent first.
And actually, if you don't mind me throwing this in,
Do it.
and we're going to probably mention it 47 times by the end of this because it is the most important thing. Your cats will tell you when they're ready to move to the next step in the process.
Very important.
You are not guiding this. Your cats are going to tell you when they're comfortable enough, when they're familiar enough, when they're ready to take that next step forward. And it may be that one cat is and one cat is not. So you're going to go at the pace of the slowest cat.
Yep.
That's, I'm going to say 80% of the time at least, where people fall off the wagon a little bit. You know, they go a little too fast. Cats weren't quite ready. If there's a bad interaction at some point, they don't take a step back. They get excited because things are going well. It just kind of goes south. So slow. Go at your cat's pace, not yours. Just assume this is going to take a year. And if it takes less than that, bonus. Well, then it's a pleasant surprise no matter what.
A lot of, like, I think basically about the typical average introduction takes maybe about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And please remember that LeeAnna and I, the clients that we see, they're on the ends of that bell curve. So we see clients that, okay, they're having problems. It's taken a really long time. And so there's issues already there. The average time for cat introductions is probably, you know, if you do the slow introduction, it's probably about 2 weeks. Sometimes introductions can take a day or two. I mean, like, especially, you know what I mean? The kittens. And other times it can take, I mean, yeah, I've had a client that it took a year, but they got there. And not every cat is actually going to enjoy living with another cat. So sometimes the best we shoot for is peaceful coexistence, where they're not going to like kill each other. Sometimes, unfortunately, not even that is possible. Yeah. So when it gets to be where the quality of life for the cats and the people is really suffering, we do not want to keep a cat in a miserable situation and force cats to get along. So there is going to have to be a decision point if the cats are just not getting along and it's impacting everybody's quality of life. So that is an important consideration. Unfortunately, sometimes introductions just don't work. And you can't force it on cats, but we are going to try to give you the the best process possible. Oh, and Jay Kennedy of the Two Crazy Cat Ladies just popped in and left.
I haven't actually officially met them, but I watch them all the time.
Yes. Well, I love the Two Crazy Cat Ladies. So, Jay, it's good to see you here. We are starting to do weekly lives, so we're building up our audience, and hopefully people will watch this on the replay. So anyway, the introduction process is very tricky. So scent, let's go scent.
So scent is probably a cat's most important tool when it comes to identifying friend or foe. And so that's where we're going to start. So before your cats even see each other, you're going to start doing some scent swapping. Now, you can do this a few ways. Bedding swaps are a great way to start. And that's where you're going to look for a bed, a blanket, someplace that each cat sleeps and kind of gets their scent on. Not their favorite bed. You don't want to take their favorite thing, but something else that has their scent on it. And you're just going to swap. Oh, go ahead.
I usually recommend that they that people put towels or blankets in the bed, so that you can keep that bed there and just grab the towel and put it into the other cat's area.
Yeah, so you're basically just going to swap. You're going to put each cat's scented thing in the other cat's space, and you're going to either next to it or on it include some of those favorite treats. So what we're doing is starting to make an association. The smell of this other cat equals good things, right? Then you're going to take it a step further, go back to that clean cotton sock we talked about, or that soft bristle brush, and you're going to rub the cheeks. We've talked about that's where the friendly pheromones are, right? That's how cats make buddies. So you're going to take that, you're going to rub the cheeks or brush the cheeks of one cat. You're going to take that sock to the other cat. You're going to present it. Don't force it on them. Present it. If they're open to it, you give them some treats, and then you rub their cheeks. So now you're swapping scents. And this can help them start to identify the other cat as part of their social group. And you just keep going back and forth. Wash the sock when you need to, but rub the cheeks, go to the other cat, treats, brush and rub, more treats, back to the other cat, and so on.
So in the other, scent is, some cats are more sensitive to scent than other cats. Some cats.
There's so many caveats to this whole process. So bear with us if you've tried this and you're like, no, that did not work.
Yeah. So some cats, you're not going to find a reaction at all. And that's okay. You can continue to do, and we're basically making a group scent with the sock rubbing and brushing. You can take a brush or a sock, like LeeAnna said. I usually recommend the whole head and the shoulders as well as the cheeks, because most cats really like that whole area being brushed.
You just want to avoid the back end of the cat. That's not where the good pheromones live.
Yeah. So, and then just pair it consistently with, oh, you want to smell this? And then here's a treat. If a cat gets, like they back away, they don't want another cat's scent placed on them, you got to respect that. So put it down, leave a treat on it, and then come back, try it again later. If they still don't want to be touched with that item,
that's okay.
It's okay. This isn't going to make or break. This isn't going to make or break the process.
Yeah, just stick with the bedding swap and you're good.
Yeah. And, sometimes cats will hiss at that scented object or growl at it or run away. That is the signal that, okay, we need to move really slowly because this is a very sensitive cat. So we want to really work on pairing some good things with that scented object. So don't move forward if your cats are hissing and growling at whatever scented object you're providing. So let's see. Now, what about site swapping? What do we want to do with that?
So site swap, do you want to talk about spatial integration first?
Yeah, that's site swapping.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Space swapping, you mean? Space swapping, not site swapping.
Yeah, site.
Space swapping.
I'm saying site like SITE.
Oh. Oh
my gosh.
You guys should feel good about the fact that we don't rehearse any of this. This is just how good we really are.
Off the
Location swapping, maybe. I was thinking site, obviously. Marci was talking about site location. Yeah. So, step. If they're good with scent swapping, wait until everybody's casual about it. Then you can move on to swapping spaces. If one of your cats is, hi Trish, if one of your cats is particularly nervous or anxious, and it's probably going to be your new cat in this scenario, you might not want to let your resident cat into their space because they may need that as kind of their safe zone.
I usually recommend that too, because keeping that area as a safe space is really important for a lot of cats.
Yeah. So what you're going to do for space swapping is you're going to put resident kitty away with something fun to do. This is not punishment. Give them a food puzzle, give them a battery operated toy to hang out with in another room. And then you can start letting new cat out very slowly to explore space. And this, part of this process is going to be the cat just getting familiar with your home. So maybe you want to open up small parts of the home at a time. Mm-hmm. But the other part is that your new cat is starting to get more familiar with your resident cat's scent. And your new cat is starting to spread their scent around the house. And there are things that you can do that can sometimes make this a little more comfortable. Feel away diffusers, spraying feel away at nose level, kind of around the house on furniture and things where the cats will be. And you want to make this a positive experience. So have treats handy, you know, play a little bit, do brushing, and you're just letting this cat get more comfortable in the space, spread their smell around. Then they can go back into their room. You can let your resident cat out. And again, same thing, because now your resident cat is smelling this other cat around the house. So you want good things happening, positive associations, treats, play sessions, brushing, whatever they love.
Yeah. And another reason for letting the new cat into the rest of the home space is you want that cat to be very confident moving around that space when the resident cat is in that area during supervised interaction sessions, which happen down the line. You want the new cat to be really confident, because if they're not confident in that space, that's when their insecure prey side come out. And you don't want that new cat to act afraid, because that might open that cat up to be chased, attacked, because cats are both predators and prey. And we want both cats to be confident. Yeah. And we don't want a power imbalance of predator and prey. So we want that new cat to be very comfortable, very confident. If you haven't seen it, go back onto our live chat that we did about play sessions.
Yes.
And have play sessions in the main area of the house just with the new cat to build confidence. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to point out that we said before we talked on live that we were going to try not to be super detailed and overwhelm everyone. And we are absolutely being super detailed and overwhelming everyone. So bear with us. There's so much we want you to know. Yeah. Can I digress for 1 second?
Do it.
Do we still have our 2 crazy cat ladies with us? I can't see names.
I don't know. I don't know if Jay is still with us. She
might
be.
I just want to throw this out because I know they get it. And I need people to post their stories so that I don't feel quite so dumb. If you have a black cat or you have ever had a black cat, I need you to make me feel smarter. I cannot tell you how many times, especially lately, I'll be chatting with Oliver, my black cat, having a conversation as you do with your cat, usually talking about how cute he is or what I'm going to make for dinner. And chat. And then I realize that's not Oliver. That's the sweater that I threw in the corner the other day. Or that's my black boots that I took off by the door. Or that's just a shadow. That's not my cat at all. So I did that again today, which is why I bring it up. So if you have black cats and you do that too, can you please just post a little comment so I feel smarter? And I just mentioned that because I know that Jay has black cats, so she gets it.
Yeah. I used to have a black cat. I get it.
You probably never did that.
Well, sometimes even now, I kind of out of the corner of my eye, I see like a shadow somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's just, oh, no, it's not.
If they close their eyes, you can't see them in the shadow. I can't tell you how many times, too, I've just been walking along thinking there's nothing happening, and then all these eyeballs are right here.
I know.
Anyways, sorry, I took us totally off track. Let's go back.
Lori is hopeful. She said she appreciates the details, which is nice. And I'm just afraid we're going to confuse everybody and overwhelm people because, it can be a lot of information. There are a lot
if you need to.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I totally took us off track.
Yeah, so thanks, LeeAnna.
No problem. That's what I do. Just gonna have a cocktail while you talk about visual exposure.
All right. Okay, so this is where you're going to want to be really cognizant of, aware of body language and being very familiar with your cat's body language in terms of what are expressions of insecurity or fear. So crouched body language, tail down, and of course, hissing and growling, those kinds of things. So my preferred way to give cats visual access to each other is through baby gates. I personally prefer, here's a couple people. Leah has Binks, and Binks blends into the rug. Oh,
thank you. It makes me feel better.
Okay, and I'm glad that we're not overwhelming Lori.
Oh, third month of an intro. Perfect
All right.
timing. Okay, good.
So hopefully this will be helpful. So
yeah, we'll focus now. Sorry.
back to baby gates. The gate setup that I like are those metal baby gates with the vertical bars, and it has like a walk-through door that you can open up. You get 2 of them, especially if you're dealing with cats that can jump over that bottom one. And you stack the top one on top of the bottom one, but you turn the top one upside down so that you can walk through those gates without having to take down the whole assembly. All right.
That sounded like mental Jenga, but I think we're following you.
Yeah. So the kinds of gates I don't like are the ones that have that crisscross plastic. Yeah, that's just a cat ladder. That is basically a cat. And a senior cat can get over that. A senior cat with 3 legs can get over that.
Next time I foster a 3-legged cat, I'm totally going to try that and tape it and send it to you.
Obstacle course with baby gates. And another reason, so screen doors will sometimes work great. With younger cats, I've had clients install screen doors and then they end up with younger cats just like this.
Yeah, stuck on it. I have video of one of my fosters doing that with my patio screen door. Yeah.
Yeah. So just consider what you think your cats are going to do and figure out the right way. The thing I like about the stacked baby gates too is that you can take a blanket or a towel and hang it over the bottom gate really nicely and clamp it in place with binder clips. And then you have a really nice way to control the visual access with each other by sliding back and forth the blanket. And when we first allow the cats to see each other, we're going to do this over food. This is kind of the typical way that people do this. And at first, you're going to have food, and this can be over a meal, but a lot of people free feed. So this is another one of those complications. Free feeding, it works best if you can do this over a meal. So maybe plan on taking your cat's food away for about 3 hours prior to when you're planning on doing this. Or you can have a lovely treat like churros on leaky mats. That's another trick that we use. Anyway, you're going to have food on opposite sides of the gate. I recommend starting very far back and as far back as necessary in order for the cats to be comfortable eating. And then as they are eating, you pull back the blanket a little bit so they can see each other just a little bit. And then ideally what you want to have happen is, oh, we look, I see there's another cat, but you know what? I'm eating right now, so I want to eat. And then they look back at their food and continue eating. And then if you start to see body language that is getting a little bit, I'm a little bit, then you can always close the blanket and wait until everybody gets peace again. And then you can open up the blanket.
If they get to that point, if they immediately freak out over the blanket, that's that sign that they're not ready to move forward yet. So you stick with scent swapping, you stick with space sharing, you do that a little longer, and then you try this again a few days, a week.
Yeah. And you may need to change the configuration up a little bit. So that's when, you might have somebody help you with where should I do this across the gate thing, or what would be the best time to do it, and those are the things that we work out with people. Okay, couple things. So a lot of times, and I see this a lot, people will try to get to move their bowls closer and closer to the door or the gates so that the bowls are right next to each other with the door or the gate right next. Please don't do that. That just increases stress for cats. Even bonded cats don't really like to eat that close to each other a lot of times. So that can really increase the sense of resource competition, which we don't want when we're introducing cats to each other. Yes. So I always say maintain at least 6 feet between food bowls. That's like the minimum distance you want.
Basketball player between each cat.
Yeah. A little basketball player. Yeah. That's I like that.
That's a Gilmore Girls reference. Somebody out there may have gotten it, maybe. A very tall basketball player between us.
Yes. I like it. So yeah, you always want to maintain a distance, but you do want to start to move the bowls closer to each other so that, you have about 6 feet. And then you want to be able to open up, get to the point where you can have them eat their complete meals together. And maybe they look at each other, maybe they glance. If they hiss or growl, I'm not too terribly concerned about hissing and growling. If it's just a little bit of it, because that's just a cat saying, hey, this is my dance space. This is your dance space. Stay in your dance space. But, if a cat really starts freaking out and, like that kind of thing, we want to head that off at the pass and close up that blanket before it gets to that point. And then you might even have to move the food bowls back a little bit, whatever you need to do to end that session on a good note, which generally means the cat is back to eating or accepting, pets or whatever, helps to calm that cat down. Although if the cat is really upset and riled up, you don't want to pet that cat because that can result in bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where that patience piece kicks in, because you may only be moving that blanket 3 inches for 2 minutes for the first week and putting it right back. You may open it a few inches, close it, wait a few minutes, open it again, close it again. You may have to keep them eating it 10 feet apart for a week. You may move them up to 8 feet apart. They may be uncomfortable. You may have to move them back to 10. So this is where that radio dial comes in. You're just turning up tiny little bits. As long as they're comfortable, you can keep turning up that intensity. But if they show any signs at all that they're not, you turn it right back down. You go back a step.
So this is also a point where sometimes cats get frustrated because what happens is, okay, they see each other, they get just a glimpse, and then one cat gets upset, so the curtain goes back, and then the other cat is like, wait, what?
Yeah, that can freak them out more. I'm actually dealing with one of those. It took 1 day for us to figure out, nope, that's not going to work. We can't block this off because it's causing the cat more stress than seeing the other cat.
Yeah. So sometimes the better approach is not doing this incremental, like little blinky bits, but it is more of, okay, at certain times during the day, we're going to have the gates completely exposed and the cats can watch each other. You might want to distract one or the other cat by having play sessions or treats or clicker training session, whatever, in the other room. But you want to get the cats to the point where they can observe each other without like fighting through the gate or doing things like that, because it can be very, very frustrating for cat to know that there's another cat on the other side that they can't see. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like you don't know exactly how it's going to go until you're there. But there are other ways to try, building positive associations across a gate. There, hey, the cats can see each other across the gate. And now we're ready to move on to the next step.
Yes. So now we're going to finally bring them together. Only when they are totally comfortable seeing each other. It's got to be like, yeah, I know there's a cat there. It's fine, right? You don't want this to be a novelty. You don't want your resident cat to be like, oh, there's something new in my house when you do this, because then it's all over. I'm dealing with one of those too. Where every single time they try to bring the cats together, the resident cat thinks it's a party and it's time to chase the other cat. So when everybody's comfortable, you can start doing supervised time together. The most important thing to keep in mind here is you want to plan ahead how long you're going to bring them together. And for the first time, it may only be a minute or two. It may be less than that. That's okay. It may be 5 minutes. You got to go off what your cats are giving you. And you've got to make sure you stick to it. Even if things are going beautifully, end the session when you said you would end the session. What people tend to do, and I'm guilty of it, is, okay, this is going really well. I'm going to go for another minute, see what happens. I'm going to let them go for another 5 minutes and see what happens. And then what ends up ending the session is when things suddenly go bad.
Yeah.
And now you've got a negative association. You've got to go back a step. So stick to your plan, choose a time. Unless things go badly earlier than that, then you can stop earlier, but don't push it. The other thing you want to think about is you're not just going to let them come together and explore each other yet. You are going to keep them on opposite sides of the room at a good distance and with something to focus on. So this can be their meals. This can be special treats. Food puzzles can be great for this because it takes brain work, so they have to really focus on it. You can do light play sessions, brushing. This is where having 2 people is helpful. So the goal is you're going to bring them together, opposite sides of the room, nice distance between them, with something to focus on. So they're just starting to get comfortable with being in the same space while good things are happening. And you're going to do this just like you've done everything else, tiny little increments. So first day you leave them together for 3 minutes, let's say. Everything's great. At the end of that 3 minutes, you put them away. You end on a positive note. Everybody's getting verbal praise. Everybody's getting treats and love. You can do this a couple of times a day, multiple times a day, once a day. It's got to work with your schedule too. You can't upheave your life to make this happen. So, we're aware of that when we work with people too, that if it doesn't work for the people, nothing matters. It's not going to work for the cats. So you're just going to start to bring them together for longer periods of time. And over time, as they're comfortable with less supervision. So ultimately, you're getting to a point where they're sharing space and you're not having to keep them focused on other things. And you just very gradually move through that process. Lots of positive reinforcement the whole time. If things take a turn at some point, if there's a situation, it happens. Don't panic. That just means maybe something startled someone, or maybe you moved a little too quickly. So you're just going to take a step back. If they were spending 5 minutes together, maybe you wait a day, go back to just that visual exposure, and then try 2 minutes together and work your way back up. So don't be afraid to go back a step if you need to. That's not a bad thing. That's not a failure. That is human nature and cats' nature. They have bad days just like we do. They can be cranky. They can not be in the mood. So don't let that derail you.
I think it's fair to say that there will be, we're just, there will be mistakes will
happen.
Mistakes will be made. And you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. There's going to be ups and downs, but as long as your overall progress is moving forward and positive, you're on the right track. So don't.
And can I say too, this is some clients, I mentioned this and they think I'm a little weird, but consider keeping a log of your progress, because what's going to happen is as things start to get better, you're going to start to forget what they were like in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then something bad is going to happen, or it's not going to progress as much as you think it should be. And you're going to start to feel defeated. This isn't working. And they're going to hate each other forever. Life is ruined. What are we going to do? But if you really go back and look at that log, you can see that you've probably made a lot more progress than you think you have. Yeah. And what I've actually started doing with some of my clients, when they start to get upset about that, they'll send me a list of things that are going well and things that are going wrong. And I'll go back to my original notes from our first call together, and I'll actually copy and paste into an email. Okay, these are the things you told me were happening initially. This was your state of mind when we talked the first time. Can you see how much better it is now? And that makes a huge difference. So you can do that for yourself just by keeping a little written log of how things are doing. Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think, just being able to measure the accomplishments. I think another thing so we're moving from one step to the next in kind of a linear fashion here, but this is not necessarily a linear process.
Because that would make it too easy. We can't have that. We have to make it more complicated.
No. This needs to be, very web-like instead of just a line. the more convoluted, the better. So you may want to continue scent swapping and working on that group scent throughout this entire process.
Yeah.
You may want to continue to have meals within sight of each other. You know, once you start that, you might want to continue doing that throughout this process. You might want to continue site swapping, SITE, space swapping, throughout this entire process. So you're kind of adding in things. There are also ways to transition between just seeing each other across the gate over mealtime into those supervised interaction sessions in the same room. For example, you could do the meal times, but just have the gate open.
Yep.
Instead of moving into an entirely new space. And then you can move one cat through the gate gradually, and of course, back up that other cat. You can do that. You can work with harness training. You can do figure training. Those are both tools that would take more time than we have right now to explain. But there are many other things that you can do to help transition your cats from one step to the next if what you're currently doing isn't working. So there are options. There was one thing that was in my mind and then it just flew out.
Well, while you think about that, let me say this too. If you're going through this and it's taking a while and it's difficult for you, it can be really hard physically, emotionally. I've talked to so many clients who will even break down in tears and be embarrassed that they're so emotional over the whole process. Don't be. It's not easy. I got into this business because Marci tried to help me fix an introduction that had gone wrong. It's hard. It can be hard. And so if you're really feeling it, if you're feeling weighed down by it, if you feel like it's beating you, you're not alone. Other people feel that way. It can still work. Hopefully you won't have to deal with any of this stuff, but just don't beat yourself up. It's a hard thing to manage in a household.
And actually, you just reminded me what I wanted to say.
Brilliant. That's what I was trying to do.
Fabulous.
Love it when that works.
So one thing I found to be very helpful is your mindset, because cats pick up on our stress and our anxiety so easily. So if you start your interaction sessions where you're like hovering around them, with a sight blocker and, like, oh gosh, this is not going to go well. The cats are like, dude, what's wrong with my person? Is there a predator here? And then their stress is heightened.
Yeah, being around this other cat upsets my people, so maybe I shouldn't be around this other cat.
They're thinking, man, whenever I'm around this other cat, like my people start freaking out. This other cat is messed up. I do not like this other cat. So be just aware of your own mindset, your own presence. Try to be confident, calm, and relaxed.
Fake it if you need to.
Fake it. Try to go into it like, hey, we're going to try to have some fun. Be careful of the tone of voice you're using. I know that some people will be like, I'll use two of my cats. Oliver, you be nice. Oliver, get away from Momo. Don't do that. So right away, it's like, oh God, when I approach this other cat, I start getting the warning tone. There must be something really messed up about this other cat.
Yeah. Poor other cat. Other cat gets all the blame in this story.
I know. So I like to remind people, hey, keep it positive. And what you might do is just narrate what's going on. Hey, Oliver, look what we have here. It's Momo. Oh my goodness. Look at how cute you guys are. Are you here to make friends?
I do that during pre-sequence play sessions. I animate the prey.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a lot of anthropomorphizing, but you know what? If it helps you kind of maintain a sense of fun about it and release some of that tension, go for it. Because we do not want our cats to pick up on our own stress around their interactions, because that can make it a little bit more challenging for them. Oh gosh, Denise said she's trying not to do this with her foster cat. Yeah. So tone of voice, super important, super important.
And Wendy, thank you for understanding my black cat situation. I feel so much better already with just a few people knowing what I'm talking about.
Denise, so treats are great. Try Churu treats, CHURU.
I have a right.
Yeah, I call them the friend maker. Most cats really love them. They're only 6 calories per tube. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
They're sneezy, like pureed magic in a tube.
Yeah. So those are really great for encouraging good associations and good interactions. Yeah. So I want to wrap it up because this is kind of going on 50 minutes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, shocker. Hey, it's not an hour and a half, so
give it a minute. It will be.
Yeah. LeeAnna, did you have anything else you wanted to add about introduction?
Just that, if you've heard us say all this and you're like, yeah, that didn't work, that's a good time to bring us in. Or if you listened to all this and thought, okay, that's way too overwhelming, that's a good time to bring a behavior consultant in. Yeah. Because what we can do is look at your specific situation and take some of the guesswork out of it for you. We can say, put your baby gates here, do feedings at these times, do play sessions at these times, then bring them together when you get home from work before you do this. We can help you navigate and take some of that guesswork out, because I think that for a lot of people is what makes it seem overwhelming. Like, okay, let me get my list of things that I'm supposed to do. Let me read through all of this. Let me check off all the little boxes. And now I need to go take a nap because I'm feeling overwhelmed. Right. So that's what we do. We help.
Yeah. If you have obstacles, we can help you overcome those obstacles. So, and like I said earlier, this probably makes up about 75% of our clientele right now.
Yeah.
So it's something that a lot of people deal with. But yeah, and if you can't afford a behavior consultant, there is help in our private Facebook group. We're broadcasting both on our business page and in the private Facebook group. So if you're not in the private Facebook group, join. It's free. Yeah. You just have to answer 3 questions to get in. So answer those 3 questions. And then, look through the group. There's been a ton of discussions, and you can search through all those conversations. And
we also have articles on our website too.
That is true. So go to felinebehaviorsolutions.com. We have this process listed out. If you just do a search for introductions in the little search bar in the upper right-hand corner of that website, you'll get this whole process laid out in an article for you. So anyway.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, do we have time to talk about our things we did for our cats this week?
Sure.
My favorite part. Okay. Well, I know what you did, and I want you to show everybody.
Yes. Finally, I've been talking about it for weeks. And guess what is now complete? Although it's dark outside, so you might not be able
That's
to
probably hard to see.
So, patio right off of my desk, and there's the Halloween cat decorating the catio. Woo!
I don't know how I feel about that.
Abby doesn't care. She already went and sniffed it. She checked it out. She's okay with it.
That's so cool. I want to put one of those in my office now, just so I could be like you, because that's so cool.
Business expense.
Right.
Oh gosh. Yes. Utilize the post search function. That's a good thing to remember. Thanks, Carrie. And then Denise just ordered those churro treats, so hopefully those work well for her.
Start getting them in a bucket because you're gonna need that many. Yeah. I started with just the little package. It was like ordering them every 3 days. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, no. Get the 50. Get the 50 pack. All right. Well, LeeAnna, what did you do for your kitties this week?
So one of them I haven't done yet, but I'm going to do it tonight because I just saw the idea this morning on a video. For snow leopards at the zoo, they took a bunch of spices. For me, it would be catnip. And they put them in a fabric bag. And then they hung that up like from a string, from a heavy like rope, from something up high, and the cats were just like, it was amazing. So I'm going to try that for Ollie. And then for Chloe, I just wanted to point this out because we hear a lot from people who have indoor outdoor cats who would like their cats to be indoors more. And I'm using the same approach here that I suggested to some of my clients about that. With my senior cat, Chloe spends most of her time under my bed, not because she's scared. That's just where she likes to hang out. Like I got a little cat zone down there for her and water and a bed and cave, and it's all like her little bat cave. But because her, the cat she was bonded to, I lost him a few months ago. I've wanted her to come out more because she used to hang out down there with him. So I feel bad. She's by herself. So I'm focusing this week on just giving her tons of good reasons to want to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So every time she steps foot out from under that bed, you would think I was having a party. I'm like, Chloe! And I get the treats and we do cuddle sessions. I get her up on the couch and we snuggle. You're going to laugh at me for this, but the last 3 nights she's been on the couch in the evening. So I've just slept on the couch so we could have that bonding time together. I like sleeping on the couch.
Chloe, you're such a sweetie.
Yeah. So she's 16. She's my old lady. And it's working already. It's only been a week, but she's spending a lot more time out in the living room. So
good.
Keep in mind, if you've got cats who like to hide, if you've got cats who you want inside more often, give them reasons to want to be inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yes. I look forward to seeing your introduction process on Instagram. So thank you.
And all the comments are amazing. We love, 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 love hearing from you guys while we're chatting. It keeps us focused.
A squirrel.
Right? Oh, do we know what we're talking about next week?
No.
I don't know if we've thought about it yet. If anybody has things they want to hear about, let us know.
We could talk about redirected aggression.
We could.
Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you need anything, don't be shy. Reach out to us at hello@felinebehaviorsolutions.com. And we look forward to